How are you doing, Miss Moraca?
Doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for being here and supporting our project. We appreciate it.
38.
What year did you start at Fremont?
Well, I started in 1972, but I was a day-to-day substitute then. So I was at Fremont off and on whenever they called me. The first time I got to the campus was a revelation for me because it was so pretty. I didn't think I was in the right place, honestly, because I had been to other school campuses and they were kind of like dull and kind of I don't know, institutional looking. And when I got to Fremont, the lady at the sub desk told me how to get there. And I thought, oh, I know where that is because I kind of grew up close by. So when I got to the school, I thought I had missed it. So I went into the office and they asked me, can I help you? And I said, yeah, I'm looking for Fremont High School. I think I missed it. And they go, no, this is it. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. Because it looked like a junior college. They used to call them junior colleges at the time. A community college with like a big park in the middle and flowers, the roses, especially the rose bushes, the flowers, the trees, the grass, the fountain. It was so pretty. And that was what kind of like drew me to that school. And then I started meeting kids, and I thought, well, the kids are pretty nice. And the experiences I had at the other schools were kind of generic. They take advantage of substitutes all the time, and they see a sub and they go, free day. And I would have to kind of calm them down and say, no, it's not a free day. Your teacher left a lesson plan and that kind of thing. So when I had the opportunity, I always asked them if I could go to Fremont. Because I made myself very visible when it came time to fill a position, and it was a long-term position. It was not a full-time. Because the teachers knew me, they recommended me for this position. So I had that position. I taught. The first yearbook I was in was 1974, I think. No, 1973. And I looked like a baby. My gosh, I was only 4 years older than most of the kids I was teaching. And I was assigned to the room where I ended up staying most of my career. I heard recently those rooms don't exist anymore, but I talked to every principal that came and went, because I wanted to get a real job at that school. And finally it happened. At first I was teaching English and Spanish, and I taught English for a year. And then I taught Spanish for 10 years. And it was English and Spanish, and then it was Spanish and art. And that was fun. I enjoyed that a lot. The Spanish kind of got a little tedious because I assigned so much work. There's so much work in a language class. And not only did I assign it to the students to do, they had to do it, but then I had to grade it. And it was getting kind of heavy for me. So.
Was that your minor in college? Was it?
No, my minor was Italian. And at the time they were desperate to have Spanish teachers, and I had substituted for the Spanish teachers for years. And I did a really good job because Spanish is very close to Italian.
What was it like? You described the school when you first started, and it sounds like it was more of a college campus and it was really beautiful. Was the community the same way?
The community was what it is. The community has not changed a whole lot. It was ridden with crime and gangs. Um, being outside was scary. Being inside, it was like a haven for kids. They would come in and know that they were safe there.
Fremont from 1972, and you retired in
2010.
2010. Wow. So you saw a lot of different generations
You
from
want to know what's funny? I had kids of students that that I had taught. A little girl came up to me and she goes, "Miss Moraca, you had my mom when she was in the 10th grade." And I go, "Really? Who was your mom?" And she told me who her mom was. And I go, "I remember her."
Oh, wow.
So it's nice when kids come back and they've been to college or they have, you know, a nice family or whatever it is, and they come and tell you. But when a kid comes up and says, "You had my mother or you had my father when they were a kid in your class," that's kind of exciting.
But what led you into the field of art? Was that something that came with
Oh,
you?
I was an artist from the time I was born. That was something that I needed to do. Um, was something I had done my whole life, and that was my major in college, was art. So, and really what I wanted to do, besides being an artist, if I was going to teach, I wanted to teach art. But at the time, they were dropping the elective classes. Art was not a requirement for college or for graduation. So, you know, I told the principal, if there's ever an opening in the art department, you know, I would like to have that. And I always was answered, you know, the same way, pretty much. Oh no, we're if a teacher leaves, we're just going to close that down and put in another English class. And I thought, well, okay. Disappointing that the curriculum did not affect art enough to understand the importance of it in a well-rounded education for a kid. Later on, the University of California put it in their graduation requirements or entrance requirements. You had to have a year of art or 2 years of art or something or other. And that could be music, it could be dance, could be drama, or it could be painting and drawing, like what I was teaching, 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional art. So then it became a tiny bit easier. And that's when things opened up a little bit. So we got, when I first started there were 4 art teachers. And we had a really comprehensive program because we had photography, which was real photography with the dark room and all that, with real film. And our students were like top-notch, award-winning, you know, national competition-winning kids. And I did have the photographs that I had put them in my storage cabinet, and I was going to give them to the library or whoever. And then they were gone. Somebody took them, which was unfortunate because they were beautiful pictures. They were all black and white, really quite beautiful. And We had ceramics and sculpture, drawing and painting, and then the beginning art classes also. So it was quite a good comprehensive program.
Okay, was that
Then,
under the Humanities program?
no, this was way before the Humanities
Oh,
program. When I got to Fremont, Fremont was exactly like the school I went to in its curriculum. It was, board approved, across the district requirements. And Fremont actually had a little bit more than the average high school did, because we had nursing, when we had cosmetology, which were certificate programs that you could go actually get a job after you graduated from high school. You could go right into like nursing. You could be a nurse's aide and then move up and go to nursing school. Cosmetology, you could become a beautician. You could get your certificate, your state certificate, and go work in a salon somewhere. So, I mean, that was pretty awesome. There are lots of cool things. We had a print shop where they were working with some of these companies that were actual professional print shops, where they were putting out like business cards and memo pads and printing newspapers and teaching kids how to set type and all that. Those things are not used anymore because we have computers and everything is digitized. But it was a good training to get into a real job at the time. And I mean, they one by one, they just disappeared. Once they closed them down, when the teacher who was teaching it left, when I was listening to Mr. Gray's interview, and he was talking about the auto shop, and there were rumors about the auto shop that as soon as Mr. Gray left, they were going to close the auto shop. And I thought, that is really bad idea, because they're taking away all of the human things the kids go to school for. It's like, these are the fun classes. They actually get to do stuff. They learn how to make things or whatever. And they're replacing them with English or reading or some kind of other makeup classes. And that's just not exciting. You want to bring kids into school. You don't want to have brain numbing classes so that they don't want to go. I mean, you have to have some of those brain numbing classes because they do need to learn to speak and write and read and calculate and do all those things. But it's not the most important thing in the world. You do have to have other things to kind of let your mind breathe. I had a student once that was telling me, "Oh, Miss Moraca, I'm so glad I had your class. This is the only place I can relax." Because her brain, she was one of the gifted students, and she had all these really high-powered classes, but she took art because she wanted to take art. And she just told me, she just kind of let it out one day. "Oh, I'm so happy I have your class. This is the only place I can relax."
It's amazing to hear the history of Fremont when you and Mr. Gray and Mr. Lowe, Mr. Nievergo were all there. I do hope one day every school incorporates a mental health program for youth that incorporates art and music. And you were saying ceramics and photography. All those are very critical for our youth in our community that doesn't have the background or know-how on what self-care is. And I feel like art and music are a way that could help them develop those skills and develop other skills in their other classes.
Mhm.
So it would be nice to see that in every school. Like arts aren't really emphasized for some reason.
Well, they're not respected as much because this is, it seems to me anyway, this is only my opinion, this is a competition between countries. And if we're not living up to the level of competence that somebody has decided our children need to be, then we have to change the curriculum and beef it up so that they take more math classes and more English classes. And they don't need as much history. They don't need any art. They don't need any music. They just need to fill their heads with all these facts. And I think that's a mistake, because you don't get a well-rounded human being just filling their heads with facts. You need to have some outlet for them so that they can be the people who discover new things. Because, okay, there are some people who need to keep reminding us of the way things have been. And then there are those who take what has been and bring it into the present. And then there are those who take what's now and bring it into the future. And if you don't prepare kids with the right kinds of classes, they don't learn how to think. They need to know how to think. I would ask them a question, what do you think? You know, write down what you think about this. And they didn't know how to answer the question. There's no right answer, no wrong answer, just what do you think? And they didn't know how to do that. So, and that kind of made me sad, because I'm sure you have opinions, but you're afraid to tell me because you think there's a right answer or there's a wrong answer, and you'll get the wrong answer. And that's not true, because they're so used to taking tests where there's a right answer and a wrong answer. Sometimes, well, I started doing this test where I told them, all you have to do is take the test, guarantee you'll get an A. I guarantee it. And they, yeah. So, and what we started to do was, I was introducing a new lesson, and it was a drawing lesson. Because at first I asked them, do you think you need to see to be able to draw? And they would say yes. I'll say, I'm going to prove you wrong. Close your eyes. Write your name. Okay, look at your name. Does it look like you wrote it? Yeah. Okay, so what does that tell you? You don't really need your eyes. What you need is a coordination between your hand and your brain. And then I would tell them, put the pencil in the other hand, the hand that you don't write with. Close your eyes and write your name. And they would complain and Then they'd look at it and I go, okay, can you read it? Well, yeah. Does it kind of look like your handwriting? Well, yeah. And I go, why? Why do you think? So we came to understand that your brain is the one that is telling you what to do. It's not your eyes. Your eyes help, but because you have learned that skill, and you can I gave this example, which was funny. You can watch TV, do your homework, and talk on the phone all at the same time. Why? Because your brain knows how to do those things. And you can write it, like if you're talking on the phone and you have to take a message, you can take a message while you're watching TV or while you're reading your book, and you can still read it because your brain has learned that skill. And it doesn't matter which hand it's with either. You can write with your left hand if you're right-handed, or with your right hand if you're left-handed, because your brain knows how to do that. So, and then the thing that they were scared of the most was close your eyes, take the pencil in the hand that you don't write with usually, and write your name backwards. Oh, how do you do that? Just try it. You know, I showed them how, and then they tried it. And then this was all leading up to Leonardo da Vinci, because Leonardo da Vinci was left-handed. And he wrote his notebooks so that nobody else could read them. He would do sketches, and then he would do some writing. And they couldn't really decipher or figure out what he had written until somebody saw there was writing on a page, and there was a mirror or some kind of mirrored object next to it, and they saw the image in the mirrored object, and then they thought, oh, let's try that. So they put a mirror up to the page, and all of a sudden they could read it. So he was left-handed. It was easier for him to write from right to left than from left to right. When you're right-handed, it's easier to write from left to right. It was just, you know, one of those really cool discoveries. And it was something I wanted my students to know. I wanted them to take away that little nugget of information, because it is fascinating.
It is fascinating. But what was the mission of the Humanitas program, and what courses were its focus?
Okay. Humanitas started in the city in 1986. And every year they added some schools. 1989 was our year when we were introduced into the program. And the goal was to make education relevant to kids, to make them, to give them information that would make them understand how things fit together in life. Because when I was at UCLA, I had a class, one of the best classes I had. It was called Integrated Arts. And it was one of those big auditorium classes. And the professor was this little short guy, little old man. And he was so like spry and funny and interesting and active, and you know, he showed slides up in the front of the auditorium, and he was describing and making things come alive. And it made me realize, which was something I hadn't until that moment in that class, that musicians were writing music, artists were painting compositions, scientists were discovering things, engineers were making things, doctors, biologists, sports were all happening all at the same time, and everything influenced something else. It wasn't that the artist was painting in this little box and the composer was composing in this little box and the poet was writing poetry in this little box and the playwright was writing plays in this little box and the scientist was way over there doing his science discoveries in that little box. They all had something to do with each other, and how they connected was what we were trying to make a little more obvious to our students, to see how they linked together. When we started in 1989. The school was still a classical type high school with 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. We didn't get 9th grade until way later. We had English, biology, and art. Those were the three subjects that we linked together. We had a group of approximately 100 students. They were divided up into three groups of 30-ish. They traveled as a group. They would go from, let's say, my class to the English class to the biology class. Ones who were in the biology class would come to me, and they go to English. The ones who were in the English class would go to biology, and then they would come to me. So we kept them together in a group, in a bunch, and they would travel as a group. They learned some interpersonal skills. They learned how to depend on each other. It wasn't just a very selfish kind of thing. If somebody was having trouble, one of the other students was expected to develop some kind of a working relationship with the other students so that they could help each other. And they didn't have a specific grade point average. We had a really good graduation. We had a 99.9 graduation rate for the first 3 years that we were in existence. Then after the first 3 years, then we didn't have the support anymore from the administration, so it was a little tougher. Then the following year, we got the 11th grade. We had the 11th grade, so we had to get an English teacher and a history teacher, and that was American history and American literature. And we had two of the best teachers, and the stuff that was coming out of those classes was just phenomenal. They were I can't even describe how proud I was of what was happening in those classes. Then when they moved up to the 12th grade, we had a government teacher and an English teacher and a science class, which turned out to be physiology, that was good. It worked out very well, because then they had the other classes they had in the general school, and the counselor that we had made sure that they had all the requirements so that they could get into University of California or California State university systems, because those were the ones that had the highest requirements. So whether they wanted to go to college or not was irrelevant. They had the requirements if they changed their minds and they wanted to go. there's nothing that they had to make up, because they were required to take it when they were enrolled. And, if they were not doing well, the counselor made sure they got tutoring. If they had to go to summer school, they went to summer school. So we had a lot of successes. One of our goals was to socialize kids, make them learn how to get along with people. Even if you don't like them, you still can get along with them. You don't have to be, mean or nasty or anything. If you don't like them, don't hang out with them. But try to find something that you can have a discussion about, that you can, that you have in common. And you might find, surprisingly, that you actually like that person. Because the only way if you like them is if you actually talk to them. Because how many times do people look at other people they've never met and I don't like that person? Well, how do you know? You ever talk to them? No. Well, then you don't know if you like them or not. You can't decide that that's a good person or a bad person based on what they look like. You actually have to have a discussion, and you might not like them at all. You might be right, but you might be wrong. And you'd be missing out on maybe a good friend.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that, okay, our first students graduated in 89, 90, 91, 92. Our first group graduated in 1992. A lot of those kids are still friends today. I have like Facebook friends. My students have asked to be friends. So, and they still hang out with the same people. One of the first things I asked was, what do you think of the Humanitas program when they first got in? Because I got to see them first. And they many times would say, this is boring. You don't get to meet very many people. You're always hanging around the same people. We're always in the class with the same people. We don't get to see other people. And I would tell them, you know what, you have other classes where you meet other people, but these are the people that you're going to study with. These are the people that you're going to find you're going to depend on to help you move along in school. And then years later, I see them hanging out with the same people. So, I mean, it was a nice program. It was probably the best thing that happened in Fremont.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I was going to ask you, how long did it last, or when did it end?
2010.
2010.
As soon as the teachers left,
Yeah.
the Humanitas teachers, there was no more program.
Well, that's
I don't know
wonderful.
what they did instead, but
Yeah, it's definitely shifted into a different learning communities. I believe there's Law and Justice, there's MESA, which I believe focuses on math and science. There's Magnet, and there's two others in there as well. So it does feel more like a little college campus, there's like School of Engineering and School of Magnet, or School of Law and Justice. And there's some other ones. There's Sigma as well. And I believe there's even one that focuses on music. I just don't know which learning community it is. We're still learning as we're recruiting more young Pathfinders. They're informing us of the new Fremont. So it's interesting to see the historical of, what it was when we were there, and what is becoming now. It's moving along with everything else in the world,
Well, you know, everything has growing pains and everything has to
Everything changes.
move on.
Yeah, and you move with the changes. There's different focuses nowadays. There's a lot of digital marketing and social media, and STEM has become a big program with scientists and labs and research. So we have a lot of students in that field as well. The one that I just posted
Mhm.
is doing some important work as a research lab assistant. So it's pretty impressive. And I'm sure it will change in another 10 years.
We'll see.
As this world becomes more modernizing technology.
Yeah, well, you know, the world changes, and if you are a
It does.
Viable program, you have to change too.
Yeah.
You have to be able to address the needs of the students who are in your charge, the people that are there to learn from you. You have to be able to lead them into
that
the world and, you know, give them the tools that they need to move along and grow.
Yes, exactly. Different workforce for different generations, if
Right.
Right. And
that's right.
This new generation is definitely heading into more technology and artificial intelligence. And what inspired you to become a teacher?
Well, my sister was a teacher, and I visited her in her classes. And, you know, I really didn't think that was for me, because I knew I was going to be an artist, and that's all I wanted to do. So when I graduated from college, my father asked me, "What are you going to do? Okay, now you graduated from college, what are you going to do? How are you going to support yourself?" I told him, "Well, I'm going to paint." He goes, "And do what?" "Well, I'll sell my paintings." I goes, "No, you won't." He goes, "I don't want you to die in an attic somewhere and then your paintings are worth millions after you're dead." And I go, "That doesn't happen anymore." He says, "Why don't you be a teacher like your sister?" And I thought about it, and thought, okay, I could give that a try. I get to do art. I get to work with young people, have the summers off, pretty cool working day, get off at 3 o'clock. Little did I know I was going to be there until 5 or 6, but it seemed like it was the right fit for me. And that's when I went to get my teaching credential, and I went right into it the following semester. So I got my teaching credential, I got a life credential, and I could teach from 7th grade through community college.
What college did you graduate from? Was that UCLA?
UCLA.
And where did you go high school? Did you go to high school here?
I went to high school. I started high school at Washington, and then we moved and I went to Torrance High. So
did you spend your childhood here in LA, in South LA?
Most of it, yeah, most of it. Yeah, we lived in Los Angeles for a while. We lived in Long Beach.
Did you know as a little girl growing up that art was your passion?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was drawing all the time. My father used to buy notepads from this printer across the street for his business. And then they would have scrap pieces of paper. And my dad would get those by the box, a big carton. And I would just go in there and take some paper and start drawing. And I was drawing all the time. So I knew Then my parents got me crayons, they got me some paints, and I was doing that from when I was a little girl. I mean, baby. We moved here quite a long time ago. We've been here. Most of my life has been in Southern California. I'm glad too, because it was cold in Ohio in the wintertime, and it was really hot and nasty, sticky, sweaty in the summertime. So this
What?
is far better.
Yes, it is. We are very blessed to have the weather we do. What is your most favorite moment, or what's your most fondest moment as a teacher?
I don't know, the time that I got to spend with kids and talking to them, and having them talk to me, tell me what they thought. And, the times, especially the times we had, like after school, we had the art club, and we got to do paintings, and we did some murals. We did this giant Aztec calendar on the elevator doors upstairs. When I was, let's see, I had been at Fremont for 4 years, I think, when we did the murals in the cafeteria. I heard they're not there anymore. Somebody painted over them, which is bad, because those should have been saved as a historical monument or something. But that was a good time that I had, painting the murals and working with kids, and just talking to them was like the best.
Till the time you retire from 72 to 2010, what historical moment stands out to you the most?
The things that I remember are the people who came to visit our school. We had Jesse Jackson when he was on his, I guess he was doing tours of the schools. He was making appearances at schools. This was his, I don't know what he called it. I think it was, I'm not sure, but I think he called it the Rainbow Coalition, where he was trying to get people to work together, All the kids were in the bleachers and he was talking to the kids. So the baseball program was impressive. There are a lot of kids that went on to professional careers as professional baseball players. And I remember scouts would come to the school and they'd sit in the stands and they'd watch the kids play. I went to baseball games after school sometimes to watch my students play. And they were there recruiting. They were watching to see, if there was some new talent there that they could maybe pick, and then maybe encourage them to go to college, play college ball, and then come into the professional ranks. Or just, if they were really good, just take them right there, give them a contract when they graduated. So another personality that came to our school was Barry White. I don't know if you know who he is. He was a really nice man, but a very sweet guy. And he brought some of his, his music industry friends, and they went visiting classes. And okay, it was New Edition, the group that Bobby Brown was in. Do you know?
I believe so.
Okay, they made an appearance at the school. They gave a free concert after school one day.
Wow.
And oh my gosh, the girls were just screaming. They were so happy. This was like a surprise thing. and was in the auditorium after school. They put little posters up, little flyers that they were going to be there after school on whatever day, let's say Thursday, and they put it up on Tuesday. So they made sure that kids knew in enough time they could ask the parents if they could stay. So, and this was before they were like really big, before they were like world known.
That's pretty cool. I'm
That
sure.
was nice. That was nice.
That sounds like it was pretty amazing. I don't remember anyone coming to speak when I was there. I wish
Well,
Barry White would have shown up in the 90s.
it would have been nice.
That's pretty amazing. Well, anything else you want to share with us about your time at Fremont as a
Well,
teacher?
when I was first a brand new teacher, I looked to the teachers that were there. I looked up to them because I thought, wow, you know, that's who I want to be. You know, there was something, I told you, I wasn't like thinking about being a teacher ever. But when I did become a teacher, and I figured, okay, this was a good thing for me. I liked it. And the more I got into it, the more I liked it. And it seems that like true desire to be a teacher is not necessarily there. And that makes me sad because a lot of the teachers that I know that are still teachers had that kind of focus that all they wanted to do was be good teachers. They wanted to be good teachers, and they worked to make themselves more aware of what students needed. You know, they did the work, they took the classes, they listened to kids, they liked kids. Some of the people that I met who were teaching, some of them didn't even like kids, you know, and I couldn't understand, why on earth are you a teacher? Why are you here if kids annoy you, or you know, you don't really like being around them? That really is not the place for you. To be a good teacher, as I said at the beginning, you have to have empathy. You have to understand what they're telling you. You have to be open to a dialogue with kids, and you have to make them believe that you do care about them, and you know, if they're learning, if they're getting what they need, if they understand. There was a crisis, a teacher crisis at one time, where they brought people in that didn't have a credential, and they were trying to entice them to come to the inner city, you know, spend 2 years as a teacher in the inner city. They would pay for their education or whatever to help them get a credential. And I thought, all the work I had to do before I could even get into the classroom this does not make sense to me, you know, because there were very tough restrictions when I became a teacher. You had to really want to be a teacher. And now, or at that time anyway, I guess they were so short on teachers that they put these feelers out for people to try teaching. And I don't necessarily think that was a good thing. I mean, some really good teachers came out of that. I'm not saying it was a bad thing, but I think the quality of teachers has really taken a hit. I know that all the teachers that left Fremont and went on to other schools with the reorganization thing, they're all in really good positions now. Those that did not retire. I met up with them a couple of days ago at Mrs. Hoover's memorial. And, they're all working and happy and, doing good work, which is, if you can last at Fremont and feel good about your time there, you can teach anywhere, because, kids are kids. Once you know how to look for what they need, then you can be successful anywhere.
Are you painting now? Are you still, pursuing your,
Well,
your arts?
I haven't painted recently. I've been doing some drawings, but probably this summer I'll do some paintings, because I've been really thinking about some things that I would like to do. Maybe write a couple books, do a little painting, a little drawing.
What's your favorite museum? Which one do you love to go to?
Well, I like LACMA. I like the one on Wilshire. The Getty is just overwhelmingly spectacular. But I like the Getty Villa just for its ambiance, when you go there, it's like you're in somebody's house, and this beautiful kind of Italian villa, pretty, which they have this reflecting pool in the, you go into what used to be the house, which is now the museum. You stand out on the balcony, you see this beautiful, like, reflecting pond. And then there's a portico on each side. It's a covered walkway, and flowers and plants and trees. Oh my gosh, it's like you're in Italy. It's absolutely gorgeous.
And who's your favorite artist?
Well, I have a couple. Michelangelo is my all-time, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But as a sculptor, painter, he's okay, but sculpting, and he knew it too. Sculpture was his thing. And then Caravaggio for painting. And then Bernini for sculpture. And then Leonardo, just for the inventiveness of the things that he did, and his brain, the way his brain worked, and the paintings that he did, and the stuff that he invented, and just awesome. He's an awesome person. It's hard to describe who he was, like, he was an engineer, and he was a musician, and he was a painter, and he was a sculptor, and was a mathematician, and he knew everything about everything. He knew about anatomy and biology and botany and all these things, and he was self-taught. You know, he didn't go to school for any of that. He just was an observer, and he was magnificent. And some of the things that he invented, which people thought were crazy at the time, they're building now and they work. So
It's pretty amazing.
he was an amazing guy.
Yes, yes, he was. Are there any words of wisdom that you could leave our future generation with?
Well, for kids, I would tell them, stay in school, do the best you can, because you're being given a gift. This is a gift. In any other country, parents pay for, and they pay a dear price for what our students are getting for free. Anything like junior high and up is a gift, because in the United States, children have the right to a free public education until they're 18 years old, or until they graduate from high school, whichever comes first. So this is a gift. Take advantage of it, because anywhere else you have to pay, and most people can't afford it. This is a gift. And once you get this, it's the opening of the door to your future. Because if you have a high school diploma, what that tells people is you had the discipline to finish something. You didn't just go and then drop out. You went all the way to the end, even though it was hard, because at the end it gets really hard. I had students who, they were in the 12th grade. It was like April, and they would tell me, I can't do this, I can't do this. And I'd have to talk them down and say, yeah, you can, yeah, you can. I'll help you. What do you need? And just that encouragement helped them get through, and they got their diploma. Now, what can you do with a diploma? You tell people, this is an example of what I can do. Give me a chance and I'll do more. But if you don't even have a high school diploma, that tells people you don't have the discipline to do the work. With a diploma, if you want to go on to college, you can. Like if you're trying to get a real job, a good job, you go to college, community college, 4-year college, graduate school, whatever. And it makes you look better. Especially if you have the degree, and you could say, you know, I have a BA, or I have a BS, or I have an AA, or I have a master's. I mean, anything, whatever you have, it just makes you look better, and it gives you more possibilities. It opens up a little more of your future so that you can, be successful. Like with my parents, there was no question that all 4 of us were going to go to school. We were all going to go to college. My parents didn't ask us, do you want to go? They expected us to go. And we didn't have any money, but my father and mother did whatever they needed to do to make sure they paid our fees so that we could stay in school, even if there wasn't money for something else, because it was important. So, and we all went to school. We all became professional people, pretty successful, with all the principles that I've worked at under at Fremont.
Yes.
There were at least 15 or 16 principals. Every time a new one would come, they would they'd say, okay, well, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do this now. Every teacher says, okay, well, just tell us what we need to do. There's no like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to listen to you. No. What teachers do is try to do the best they can to make whatever it is work. So if you want it this way, you're the boss. Okay, fine. We'll do it that way. Let's see what we can do to make it work. And then you get another principal in 6 months, and that one wants to go that way. And you think, well, okay, turn right, let's go. So you're still trying to manage your curriculum in your classroom. You know what you need to teach. You know what kids need to learn. But, the delivery system may be different according to whatever principal you're working with at the time. So, they have their own thing and they want to make a name for themselves, and that's fine. But teachers are the ones that make it work. When they get into teaching for the right reasons, they're usually the nicest, kindest, most flexible people you could imagine. They might not be, really friendly sometimes, but they are there for the right reason and they want to help kids. So I think they're some of the nicest people I've ever met.
I agree. We remember our teachers. Well, I remember my teachers from Fremont, and definitely appreciate all of you and all the teachers out there that are doing their best through this pandemic, and administrators. So we thank all of them, and we thank you
the best
for all your work.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's nice to know that you're appreciated.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. It's nice when I see a note from one of my former students and they're mentioning, something that I helped them with, or something that they remember from my class, or, like I was reading on when you posted my picture, and there were all those comments afterwards, and every one of them was very complimentary to me, which it made me feel really good, because it makes me feel like I did something that was valuable. I helped somebody move on through their high school days to maybe help them get to where they need to go. And the fact that they remember me with good feelings makes me feel good.
Yes, I remember reading all the comments as well, and we appreciate you. And you were there during some challenging times, a lot of challenging times from 1972 to 2010, and the reorganization and the restructuring, and just seeing the changes of Fremont. And you were there for all the kids, and we appreciate you. And
well, thank you. Thank you.
And it's nice that you've, reconnected with them through Facebook as well.
It's funny because sometimes we see them, my husband and I go out, and we went to Huntington Park and we were walking around over there. We're going in and out of the stores. And all of a sudden, I heard somebody call my name. And I turned around, and there's this group of kids. And, I turned around and they go, "Hey, Miss Moraca." So they came over and they hugged me. It was really cute. And my husband goes, "Wow, you know people everywhere." Another time we went to a store in Cerritos, and I had gone to look at some things on the side of the store, and my husband had the cart, and he was walking to go see something, and this young woman comes up to him, and she goes, "Is that Miss Moraca?" And he goes, "Yes." And she goes, "Oh, she was my teacher at Fremont." So my husband comes over and he says, "Do you know this young woman?" I looked at her, and she was in my homeroom, and she worked for the post office. So we talked a little bit, and that was nice.
That's
And there
pretty
was
amazing.
another one in Downey. We went to Downey. We were in a store, and one of my students comes up to me and goes, "Miss Moraca, hi, how you doing?" And I go, "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" He goes, "I wanted you to meet my little boy." And here's his little son, cute little kid. So it's just really nice to see that I've left a good impression on somebody.
And that's wonderful that you've been running into your students, because a lot of times you don't realize when you're so focused on your career, you don't realize the impact that you're making on people.
Oh yeah, I worked at several different schools when I was a day-to-day substitute, but I really didn't want to be a day-to-day substitute. I wanted a real job, and whenever I had the opportunity, I would go to Fremont. If they asked me, if they called me up in the morning to send me someplace, I would always ask if they had something at Fremont, because I really preferred to go to Fremont because I felt most comfortable there. I felt like that was the place I was supposed to be. So I kind of carved out my little place in that arena for myself, so that if it were to happen somewhere down the line that a job became available, I would be there. So you're only lucky if you make your own luck, if you're ready for when the luck hits you, because it'll hit you. You just have to be at the right place at the right time. So I figured if I want a job here, I have to be here. Because my first assignment was at Gompers. Oh my gosh, that was an eye opener.
Where was Gomper? Is that a middle school? Is that a middle school?
It's a middle school now, yeah. It was a junior high school then, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. That was crazy time. Because right out of the teaching program, they didn't tell you. See, they don't teach you how to teach. They just give you some information and some maybe psychological things that you have to look for. But as far as teaching you how to teach, they can't do that. You have to kind of develop that on your own. But they don't tell you you have to get students' attention. So here I am, novice teacher, my very first day by myself in the classroom. And these kids were running wild because they figured, you're a substitute, you don't know anything, and we can do whatever we want. And the first day they pretty much did. And I was, telling them, sit down, be quiet. And I lost my voice the first day. So the second, and I was there for 3 days. Second and the third day, I brought in, because the teacher didn't leave me a real lesson plan, not for 3 days anyway. So I brought in stuff that I liked to do, that was simple, that was something that was fast for them to do, and they could do lots of them. They'd get interested in it. And we did origami, and we were folding paper and making little animals. So I told them, if you're interested, you come up front, because I don't have a voice, because of you guys being, so wild yesterday, and you wouldn't sit down, you wouldn't be quiet. I lost my voice. So if you want to learn something, you're going to come up here and I'll show you, and you can do these things. So, and that worked out for me. So that day, first day, I learned You have to get control of them first, then you teach them. And that was a hard learned lesson for me because that was rough. I didn't know anything. So I worked at Gompers, I worked at Markham, which is a middle school now. I worked at Edison, Bethune, Locke High School, and then some places down closer to me.
I was gonna say, what an experience, your first day of teaching.
Oh my gosh, that is emblazoned in my brain for the rest of my life. I will never forget that. That was really
Was Gompers considered a rough school during that time?
yes. They're the feeder to Locke High School.
Yeah, what an experience too, to graduate from college and you have all this knowledge and critical thinking and all these different perspectives, but they don't really prepare you to what you're going to face on your first day, right?
Well,
But
see,
that's with every job.
everything in college, what I have learned, everything in college is philosophical.
Right.
It's all very cerebral, but it's not practical. You have to learn how to use what they teach you
Yes.
to do something in real life. You have to be able to figure out how to convert that philosophical business into real life. And how does that work? And I had to do it like bang. And I wasn't ready for that. But that first day really taught me. And then from then on, I was good to go. I figured, okay, if this is the way it's going to be, I'm going to walk into a classroom with no lesson plans and a bunch of kids who don't know me. I better be ready. So I came in with all kinds of projects, things to do. I would go into English classes or history classes, Spanish classes. I subbed for my friend in French a couple times. I just went in with stuff that I knew about those subjects. And I would pretend that their teacher left me a lesson plan and this is what you're going to do today. And I'm going to collect all of your papers, put them on the desk here, show your teacher that you actually worked today, and then you get a grade for it. Now, I don't know if they ever graded them for it because it was my lesson, but it was a way to keep them learning and busy so that they didn't get into trouble.
You found a technique that works.
That was the best I could do. If the teacher left me a lesson plan, though, I made sure I followed that lesson plan to the letter. That made it a lot easier for me, because if they would leave me a lesson plan, I would know what they were doing and what they were expected to do. And sometimes if they didn't leave me a lesson plan, I would just say, okay, what did you do yesterday? What's the last thing you did yesterday? Because we're going to take up from there and we're going to move on. And it sounded like I knew what I was talking about. So
there's always a learning curve when we start our careers.
Absolutely. Well, my learning curve was like this. Bang. I had to learn like on the spot.
Well, that's a good question that I want to ask you for the young people who are starting their first job out of college. What advice or words of encouragement can you give them?
Okay, advice. I would say if you're going into a job, it's your very first day, look around at the other people that are doing the same job as you, see what they're doing, ask questions. Don't be obnoxious, but ask questions when you need to know something. but don't be too eager or annoying, because people don't like that. Try, start out low key and just look around, kind of assess where you are, see what other people are doing, and then try to match that. And then when you get that, then maybe you can go beyond that and put some of yourself into your work and maybe stand out from everybody else. But don't try to stand out the first day, because as I told a couple of my students the first day I met them, I knew their names right away. And I told them, I know who you are, and I just met you. And that is not necessarily a good thing. You do not want to stand out right away. You just kind of take your time, know what you're doing, do your job, but look around and see what other people are doing, and just try to match that first. And then maybe you can go on beyond that and put more of yourself into it, and be outstanding because of what you know how to do. And as far as encouragement, you're always going to want to quit when things get hard. Don't. Look around and see other people. I did this twice in my life. I had a class that was so hard, and I thought, I can't do this. Why am I doing this to myself? This is hard. I'm just going to stop. And then I thought to myself, I looked around and I thought to myself, well, wait a minute now. All these other people can do it. And they're not smarter than I am, because I'm here same as they're here. So if they can do it, I can do it. Maybe I can do it better. I just better keep doing it. I'll get through this. It's hard, but I can do it. And I would, talk myself down from wanting to just quit. Because as you know, things get hard sometimes. And they look like, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. Yeah, you can. You just have to believe in yourself. Because that's the hardest part. There's always going to be somebody who tells you, you're never going to amount to anything. And, you're never going to be a success. You're destined to fail or whatever. Those people are always going to be there. Those are the losers that have a bad self-image themselves, and they want to drag everybody else down with them. If you want something badly enough, just keep working, keep doing it, and convince yourself that yes, you can do it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. The other time, that was in college. The other time this happened to me, and this is gonna sound stupid, but do you know at Disneyland where they have that ride in Tomorrowland? You go in there and it's got all these flashing lights. And anyway, I don't like fast rides. I don't like roller coasters. I don't like any of that stuff. But everybody was going on this ride. And I thought, okay, well, it's a new ride. Fine, I'll go. And my brother had been on it, and I asked him, does this tilt sideways? Does it? Because I don't like that, especially. And he didn't answer me. He didn't give me a straight answer. He said, I don't remember. I thought, okay, well. And they have these little exits as you walk along. They have chicken exits. People who are, they don't want to go through with it. They can leave different parts of the line. And I saw those doors and I thought, maybe I'm not going to do this. I don't think I want to do this. And then I looked around. I saw the people down there who were getting in and out of these little cars, the little buggies there that on the roller coaster thing. And I thought, well, okay, the ones that are getting in don't look like they're nervous, and the ones that are getting out are all happy and laughing and all that. So I guess I'm not going to die. Might as well go. So I talked myself into going. And okay, I went. I did it. I'm never going to go again, but I did it. Don't give up. Just do it.
Those are great examples.
Until you try.
That is true. Yeah, try it one time.
at least once, try it. And then, okay, if you like it, great. If you don't like it, you know why you don't like it, and you don't ever have to do it again. So
I never give up.
Never give up.
Not when it comes to your dreams and your goals and yourself.
You know, one student told me, we were talking about doing something, and I said, well, we have to make sure that we get this done, and we want to be sure that it's the best it can be, so that nobody will tell us that we can't do it. And she looked at me and she goes, Miss Moraca, you never take no for an answer. And I told her, well, I always try to find a way to get it done. You have to get it done. Don't take no for an answer.
No, we gotta learn to be fighters of our dreams and our lives. And not
see, that's part of what I wanted to teach, because you're not just teaching a subject. You're teaching them how to live a successful life, because subjects are always going to be there, but your life is very important. Even if you don't go on through to college or university or whatever, you do have to know how to navigate your life. And that was part of the goal of Humanitas, is after you finish high school, you have to have a plan. You have to know where you want to go. What are you going to do after this? And that was part of what we were trying to get them to learn. And I think most of them did. I have a lot of former students who are social workers and police officers and teachers and counselors and human rights activists and social workers, like all kinds of
it's pretty amazing
social jobs, things that professions or careers where they have to work with people. And I think that's a good thing, because we're connecting and trying to make the world a better place.
That's wonderful. Well, the Humanitas program definitely made an impact, just like you have in many lives. It's impacted a lot of.
That makes me happy.
A lot of youth, during your entire time at Fremont. So we appreciate all of you. Well, thank you so much, Miss Moraca, for being here. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to share your life with us. Thank you.
Well, I hope it was all good.
Yes.
I appreciate them because they enriched my life as well. Because it's not only they who learned from me, I learned from them. It opened my eyes. Being a teacher there for so many years, you learn things that I would have no way of knowing if I had not been exposed to my students. So they did me a favor.
Oh, thank you so much for choosing teaching as your career. I mean,
Well, you're
amazing.
welcome.
And thank you for being here, Miss Moraca.
You're very welcome.